came up to Maine when I was 10 years old. My parents sent me to a camp, and I woke up in the morning and, oh my God, we were living right on top of a lake. And I grew up in Manhattan, and I just fell in love with Maine. That was my parents' first big mistake.
In the Kennebec Moose River Valley in western central Maine, it's a travel corridor, historically a travel corridor for Native Americans and French Canadians moving into and out of this region. Nowadays, really a central point for really accessible whitewater rafting and paddling. You know, high volume kayaking, canoeing, rafting, or lower volume, really family-friendly trips that's very accessible, a lot of great support from businesses in the area. In the early days, they would take full-size tree-length logs and pile them on the ice on the lakes and ponds, and then in the springtime, as the ice melted, they'd run the logs down with the spring freshet. And that's where you hear the great stories of the log drives and the log jams. Very dangerous work, but kind of glamorous in a way. They're like our cowboys.
A lot of the guys that worked on the drive were not from around here. A lot of them were French Canadians and Micmac Indians that would come down from Quebec and New Brunswick.
About 40 years ago, the log drive stopped on the Kennebec, and actually the last log drive in America was on the Kennebec River in 1976. And that same year, some local hunting guides decided to try rafting the river. I think they were mostly looking for a place to fish, and they'd never gone down the gorge before. So they got their hands on a raft and dropped it in and made it out the other end, and that was kind of the birth of the whitewater rafting industry here in Maine, right there on the Kennebec River.
I got my Maine guide's license, and I started taking out canoe trips all over Maine, the Rangeley Lakes, Belgrades, Allagash, Moosehead, whatever. And I fell in love with Maine, basically.
There are a number of outfitters who can provide you a fully outfitted, full-service guided trip down the river with good food, good equipment, and really knowledgeable guides who can not only help you experience the place in the moment, but also understand the history and the culture that comes along with the river.
This is one of the first times I've been to Maine, and so going to Northern Outdoors, they have all sorts of things for year-round adventure. We were out there in whitewater and rafting, but in the winter they have snowmobiling and they have hunting camps, and they do hunting and fishing as well. So it's a mixture of all sorts of things.
We started back in 1976. First this was some sporting camps and a campground, and then we ended up building a big lodge, and then we ended up building cabins, and now we can house probably in the summer at least 300 people. We give you an orientation, we put you on a bus, we take you about 45 minutes up to the dam. We put you in, it's very thrilling. We stop halfway through at a beach, and we have a shore cookout over an open wood fire.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing. It's like a Mongolian grill right here on the banks of the Kennebec River in Maine. Fantastic. Rice, vegetables, pasta, and a cookie. Adventure Bound is their sister company to Northern Outdoors. And when my kids are a little bit older and they're old enough to be doing the whitewater trips down the Kennebec, I'd want them to come up and go to Adventure Bound.
We created some adventure programming around that youth market, which involves a high adventure ropes course, multi-day canoe trips, multiple day rafting trips, and the whitewater stretch puts them a little bit out of their comfort zone, which is a nice challenge for them, and they're certainly excited about it. Our goal as a company is to create an experience that people wish to come back for and wish to share, and bring more of their friends back.
I've been 45 miles from nowhere.